Hello world of YouTube and welcome to the next list in List Week 2020. Breakdown of my top 11 favorite games that came out in the year. Now, like every year, I don't play every game that comes out. I did play more games this year than I typically do in a calendar year because I didn't put as much money into other things I like to do for obvious reasons. But I still missed some big titles that came out in 2020. I didn't play Miles Morales for as much as I wanted to because it came out during the holiday season and I was buying a lot of shit for other people. I didn't play Ghost of Tsushima even though I had friends personally telling me it was a great time. I just never got around to it. I never played Paper Mario the Origami King because I'm too busy wrapped up in the Thousand Year Door. There's just a handful of big titles that I never played, but I did still play enough to put together a list of 11 that I'm happy with, even by leaving some stuff off the cutting room floor. And the one caveat I'm throwing out of the way is I did play a lot of collection games that came out this year, like is a great example. That's not going to be on here because it's not like a remaster. It's not like a remake in the truest sense. It's more like a remaster. They didn't really change anything to the game itself. So those, stuff like that, not eligible for the list. So let's go ahead and break down my list. Here's my games of the year.
If it wasn't clear by my creation of a show built around the genre in tribute to it, I really love roguelikes and roguelites. And this year actually saw a couple sequels drop to some classics within the genre. And while I didn't play the one that you might have assumed I would have played right off the bat, I have sucked my teeth into and spent some time with Spelunky 2 and really enjoyed my experience. I was not as familiar with Spelunky as some other classics in the genre, but even playing the sequel has made me go back and play it more and get a huge appreciation for it, and even more of an appreciation for it. And its sequel, while having some changes that I don't necessarily wholly jive with, it still has a lot of improvements or things done to it that make it a better experience, like online co-op. I enjoy the fact that in a year like this, where I can't go see my friends in person, I can still play this fun platforming roguelike with some of my friends that enjoy this type of game. It still has the same challenge and quick turnaround in runs that the original Spelunky had, but it has some small improvements or some features added to it that I feel like give it some more life. I like some of the challenges, more shops, stuff like that. I think that that's neat, and I really like what the studio did with this game, and I like how they changed the story and the setting subtly that still keeps it in line with the general vibe of the first game. It's fun. It's a fun-ass game with some bite-sized runs in it that I think if you enjoy the first one and you haven't spent time with the second one, I think you'll get some love for. It may be a few years into the genre's prominence and popularity, but battle royales are still thriving in 2020, and I played a decent chunk of them. And Fall Guys was honestly one of those trendy games, the battle royale trendy games, that I still enjoy going back to. I like the concept of this roulette of mini games that see you going against other people in a very different way. And I like the changes they've made to it with each passing season or even mid-season updates. I like the updates they make to this game more so than some of the battle royales, and I enjoy the overall tone of this game. I love the presentation. I love the energetic soundtrack. I love, again, that once the game became stable after its very spotty beginnings, it was a game that I liked revisiting with friends. It's a game that I like to watch people play. It's a game that's just generally enjoyable for the same reason that a good game show is. And it has that presentation that mirrors that. I may still have never gotten a W while playing this, but I've had fun playing this throughout the year, you know, whether by myself or with friends. And I like, again, it has the same unlock system and the same general vibe of your standard battle royale, like your Spell Breaks or your Fortnites or your Apexes, but its presentation is so very different in a way that I enjoy, and I feel like it's fresh. It feels very fresh in the genre, which for something that seemed like it would have been very stagnant very quickly, I like that games like this are coming out and showing that you can do some cool stuff with the format of a battle royale. Given Ritual of the Night was getting a lot of updates and overhauls done to the game, a lot of the tier pledge features were starting to be added to the game, I certainly didn't expect Indie Creates to drop a sequel to their pledge tier game Curse of the Moon with Curse of the Moon 2, a game that retains a lot of the charm seen in Curse of the Moon, but with even more features added to it to create an even more replayable experience while still having that challenge that was present in Curse of the Moon. You guys know I love Classicvanias. I put myself through some gluttonous challenges with the genre, with the Castlevania series as a whole, and I like Curse of the Moon for just giving me more of that. The soundtrack still kicks a whole lot of ass. I love the new characters that they've added. That Corgi in a mech is fucking top tier adorable. I like the Gunner character, and I really like how they integrate the older characters into that with, again, some of those replayable aspects. It's got a cool, expansion on what Curse of the Moon presented in a way that I think was, I didn't know needed, but I feel like helped and create a more worthwhile sequel to a game that wasn't really a prequel game, but just a different way to present a similar story. I like this game a lot, and I wouldn't want necessarily a Ritual of the Night experience with this because I feel like it works so much better in this style, but I think it'd be neat to see some of these levels explored and fleshed out in that sort of visual style for sure. But this is still a great package all around. Nintendo always knows how to pack a weird surprise in the mix, and amidst all the celebrations that went down with Mario's 35th anniversary, I did not expect a Super Mario Battle Royale to come into the mix, but it came out, and it's another one of those limited release things, and I have issues with that, but the game itself is fantastic. You guys probably already know, I love Mario, and I love platformers, and I like Battle Royales when they're done really well, and Super Mario 35 does what Tetris 99 did in creating this weird Battle Royale experience that sees you playing Mario against other Mario players in a way that I think works impeccably well. I love the sending enemies concept, and I think it's incredible. I love that they kept the targeting system from Tetris 99, but they present it in a way that works in Mario. I like how items are used. I like how coins have more of a use here than they did in the original Super Mario Bros. I like the randomized level aspect. I just like the overall presentation of this game, and I feel like to adapt a classic like Super Mario in such a modern way, like a Battle Royale, feels like it's impossible on paper, but Nintendo pulled it off incredibly well in Nintendo fashion, and I feel like while they've made a lot of weird decisions this year, the ones that they've made that worked really well, and Mario 35 is an example of that. While I threw some shade at this in my Games That Need Remakes video, I still really love Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, if that wasn't apparent by my revisiting of The Warehouse that I made earlier this year. This game is really cool, and again, creates this sort of better representation of this game series in a modern way that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5 didn't do at all. And this is the type of remake that I would expect for a series like this, because the first Tony Hawk is a classic, but it's missing some features that even the second one presented, and this even adds features that the second one didn't have. It's got a lot of tightness, and it brings those games into a modern sense that make it feel justified as a remake. While I said I wasn't doing any sort of remasters or repackagings, this is a completely different beast. I like the online component of this as well. I like playing with friends and just with a general group of people in various game modes, even if they put me to shame every single time. I enjoy the look of the game. I think it looks gorgeous. I like the soundtrack by and large. I gave it high praise when I reviewed it earlier this year. I like the combination of both the old soundtracks with some of the new songs. Not all the new songs, but some of the new songs I like the inclusion on here. I think that it's a great contemporarization of this franchise in the same way that like Capcom did with the Resi 2 and parts of the Resi 3 remake. I think that it's good. I really do. I think that it's a solid, or not even a solid, it's a great ass time that I still get a lot of fun out of. I was originally surprised that Vicarious Visions wasn't attached to this project, but given the Tony Hawk remake, that makes a lot of sense, and Toys for Bob did a great job at making a great expansion on the initial 3 Crashes game design, with a lot of fun new masks, that same level of challenge if you're looking to complete it, with some great boss battles, a lot of side shit that feels like a great tribute to Crash as a whole. This feels like both a love letter and an expansion on the initial idea of Crash Bandicoot in ways that I, as a fan of those early games, really appreciate. Do I think it's a nightmare when you're looking at it from a completion perspective? Absolutely. But I think that the level design, the tightness in the platforming, and some of just the small changes give this franchise and this game have a great quality of life improvement to them in comparison to the older games. I think that it's a lot of fun. I think that it's still incredibly tight, and I feel like it has the same charm that I would expect from a franchise like this. And I like the fact that it has a slew of unlockables. There's a lot of classic game design ideas that I love are a component of this game that I hope more games in this style take note of, because I feel like it's a good blending of old and new in a way that works so very well. It is rewarding to those that really want to sink their teeth into it to a degree. I think this game is honestly really very great. Seriously though, fuck the completion criteria for this game. It's the one thing that I feel like would ever hold it back to somebody who likes that type of thing. I don't talk about racing games much, but I do enjoy a good racing game when I find one that scratches an itch that I want incredibly well. And Curve Digital's Hotshot Racing is a game that I've gotten a lot of mileage of this year. Like I said in a recent stream, this has been a comfort game to me. If I just want to sit down, try to knock out a cup, I can do that in a little bit. I like that the ramping difficulty increases the challenge when trying to pull off good drifts. I like that the AI is generally well programmed in this game. I like the bonus features, and I like the overall aesthetic of this game. It has that vintage, classic 90s feel, but is presented in a way that feels even further past that stylistic-wise. And I want more racing games like this to return. You know, I like that arcade-style racer a lot. That's why I really love the Burnout and the Need for Speed games. And this feels like a great sort of modernization and streamlined approach to that core game design, but it works so incredibly well. I like a lot of the bonus game modes. I like the tracks themselves. They're really fun. The track that they added in the free DLC, that's like the 8 track, it's like the not track. I think it's really fun and really maximizes some of the core ideas that this game's controls, and I think it's great. And this game's really good, and I can't give it enough praise, and I can't show it to enough people. You know, download Hotshot Racing if you like this type of game. It's the one game I've thrown at people this year more than others, even above this list. One of the things that happened this year a couple of times with some high-profile indie titles were games that already had an adoring fan base on a particular platform, sort of quote-unquote went public, in the same way that Minecraft did back when it was technically released in the 2010s. There's a few games that have done that, and one of them, actually both of them are in the same genre, but one of them that I've loved for a completely different reason than the other is Risk of Rain 2, a game that, again, I even technically showcased on the channel before it was technically public, is a great expansion on a roguelike that's already really, really good. You know, I like that they took that 2D basic presentation, expanded it to the 3D, added even more secrets within levels. Like, some of the shit that you have to find to do some of the secret endings in this game is cryptic as hell. But I've loved sitting down with my friends over the internet and picking apart this game while also surviving the onslaught of enemies that the game throws at you. I like that each character genuinely has a different play style in a way that reflects some of my other favorite genres of games. You know, I like a lot of this game's gameplay loop. I like that you build your character in so many different ways thanks to RNG. It's a type of roguelike that I really enjoy, and I'm glad the genre had a great entry in it in this year, even if it's technically a game that only went public this year. If you don't like these type of entries and lists, I'm sorry, because I do have one other one on the list, but I gotta give a lot of love for a game that I've had a lot of fun with this year. You know, the biggest thing that happened in 2020 was the pandemic. You know, the whole world sort of grinding to a stop, businesses shutting down, you know, generally people staying inside more. It's been a huge thing in the year that I don't need to tell you that. But I feel like Nintendo had the best thing to ever happen in that year by releasing a new Animal Crossing game amidst this coronavirus pandemic, because while the only other Animal Crossing game I've played was the first one, with the time that I spent with this game, I had that same feeling of enjoyment that I got out of the first game. Even if I haven't visited my island in a couple of months, I'm sorry to my islanders. I love you guys. Animal Crossing is always one of those games I get in waves. I get feelings for in waves, and I enjoy a lot of what this game has going on. I like the level of progression within it, and I like the control you have over this island. I like the chemistry between you and other islanders. I like the general maintenance systems that they've improved upon, or that they've added from the first one at least. There's a lot of quality of life improvements from this one that the first one didn't have that I really enjoy. And it's one of those games that I do love. Obviously, I put it high up on this list, but I will say as the year has gone on, I definitely spent less time with it than I had entries below this list. But I can't knock, and I can't discredit the amount of time and love that I put into my island when I was playing this on a much more heavier rotation. It's a game that I genuinely had a deep obsession with that I hadn't felt in a long time with this type of game, and I gotta give credit to that. It's a fun experience. Like I said 2 parts ago, sometimes this year, games went public that already had a dedicated fan base, and Supergiants Hades is another example of that, with a game that is incredible and takes the sort of rogue legacy approach to a roguelike and cements it even further into its story. I love how the story just peels away layer by layer after every single run. I like that your character growth seemingly happens faster, but that's to the point of getting you through the story at a pace that doesn't feel like it crawls. You know, I like the additions that the game throws at you after every run. There's always something new to check out. The hub world is always evolving after every run, and I really appreciate that. And on top of that, the presentation is beautiful. I love the art style. I love the voice acting.
Here within the bowels of the earth. It is as though it had ingested something that did not sit well. Perhaps the earth itself.
And the gameplay itself is tight as fuck. I have my preference to a weapon, but I like that each weapon set has its own approach to it. You know, they feel different in a way that's worthwhile. I like a lot of the attributes to this gameplay loop that I would equate to a game like Risk of Rain or Wizard of Legend. It's another great roguelike in a genre that has had a lot of prominence in recent years. This is easily another top-tier entry in that genre, thanks to that story approach, thanks to how Supergiant designed the game, the look, everything. Top tier. It's getting a lot of praise this year for good reason. It's a phenomenal fucking experience that I feel like is genuinely worthwhile if you like this type of game and in a story-driven sense. Now, for how much I love and talk about stuff like compelling stories, good gameplay loops, adaptations on genres, and all that sort of stuff, I also sometimes just like some good fun, some damn well-designed fun. And Doom Eternal gave me that in spades. You guys probably already know if you didn't. I love Doom as a franchise. It's a game franchise that I've bought almost all of them multiple times. And Doom Eternal is more of what Doom 2016 gave me, but with a greater, like, the expansions felt worthwhile. You know, I like that the kinetic or expansions on the Doomslayers movement tie into exploration, tie into finding the secrets within these huge levels. I like the side shit, like the Slayer gates. I feel like that in itself is just classic Doom in these intense-ass pockets. Obviously, I love the music. It fits the style very, very well. I don't mind them making the classic Doom Demon-style visuals as opposed to the more modernized ones from 2016. I like how some of the core mechanics like chainsaws and stuff tie very intrinsically to combat. I like the combat in this game as a whole. It feels like Doom, but more. And that's generally all I could have ever asked for from Doom Eternal. You know, it's a game that accomplishes everything I want from a campaign experience, even if I think 2016 has a more robust multiplayer in theory. I like what's here. I like this game a hell of a lot, and I feel like if I'm turning to something for, you know, a game like Doom, Doom Eternal gave me that in every single way I could have ever wanted. And that's why it's my game of the year.
And that was it. Did you like my list? Did you not? Let me know in those comments down below. What were some of your favorite games that you played this year, if you did play a lot of video games, or just games in general that you kept rotating back to? If you did like it, be sure to give it a like. If you want to see more of my music, gaming, and general notary content, be sure to subscribe. Special thanks to my patrons. If you want to join their ranks to get early access to content, exclusive content, or to help drive the community, it's linked down in the description. I'm going to get out of here. I've been Viral Rack. You guys have good days, lives, and situations, and I'll see you another day.